Hello and welcome to Fandom Fridays, where we look at fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Because even though we love our girls, sometimes we need to look at what the other fandoms can do, even if they're not always as good. And today we Oh, excuse me. Chili Willy, I thought I told you! Stay outside! Glee! Sorry about that, guys. Having a house full of EV evolutions also means that we've also adopted Glaceon, aka the Ice-type Pokemon. And since we are in the middle of a snowstorm, so deep that right now Trixie is trying to get out of the snow. Help! The great imperial Trixie cannot get out! Help! We are trying to keep the little Ice EV outside, along with trying to keep Flareon, my nice little hot Pokemon, inside. He's that right little spark. Flare! Cute. Flare! So, what big event happened recently? Dragon Ball Xenoverse has come out. I have yet to play it, but I promise I will get it because it basically hits all the right notes with me. So I decided that, in honor of this occasion, we are going to read another DBZ fic. This one starring the tried and true awesome Saiyan himself, the Saiyan Oizi, Vegeta, as we bring you a fanfic called Deathbringer. Not to mention, he is doing this because it was either doing this or find another Mykin to do. Yes, I would do another Mykin. And you people don't want to watch me suffer, do you? I mean, come on. You people don't want to hear me lose my crown like I do whenever I used to read Fondue fics, right? You people don't want to hear me lose my mind, right? So, join us, won't you, as the Npberryhill Memorial Library is proud to present The Bringer of Death. Bringer of Death by Npberryhill. Npberryhill.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z! Vegeta and the Z-Fighters were no match for Freiza's monstrous third form. In a desperate ploy, Vegeta lowers his defenses, allowing Krillin to blast him through the chest. After Dende healed the prince, his power soared to immeasurable heights. For a moment, Vegeta believed himself actually becoming strong enough to defeat Frieza. Was he a Super Saiyan? Yet, the Frost Demon had already transformed, and his fourth form proved to be far superior. In fact, Vegeta was completely incapable of even laying a hand on the tyrant. Alas, he was now on the verge of hopelessness.
My apologies for the Kyle Hibbert gag, but I had to. As Vegeta failed in trying to hold back his shock at Frieza's true might, he knew his death was at hand. For years, he had contained his feelings of fear, always clinging to the hope that one day he would be the one to destroy Frieza. Now he finally knew the truth. He was no Super Saiyan. Vegeta, Prince of all Saiyans, would die by the hands of the same tyrant who destroyed everyone he once cared about. In spite of how far he had come, he, like those who came before him, would be eradicated like an insignificant minion by the heartless monster. It seemed like a lifetime ago, but Vegeta once again felt the loneliness of being a child without a father, a mother, or even a home. They had all been whipped away from him, and he had been proud enough, even as a child, to suck it up, never once showing any sign of weakness. The lies he had confidently boasted throughout his life, claiming he cared nothing for his home planet or race, shattered in his mind and brought him to tears.
Stupid weakling!
Vegeta angrily grumbled in self-loathing. He was choking up, furious at how unbecoming of a warrior this emotional display was. He longed for his father to see his progress as a warrior, to share the triumphs and the victories of his life. More than anything, he wanted to awaken from being enslaved by Frieza, as if waking to one long nightmare. Very soon it would all end. Would he awaken, or would he lie forever in his dreamless sleep? Vegeta, face it. Your fight with me is futile and useless. Frieza had emerged completely unscathed from Vegeta's last attack, as the dry dust of Namek dissipated to reveal the icy tyrant's cruel smirk. He had laughed at the very best Vegeta could possibly muster, the strength he spent his entire life training to achieve. Just wake up. You're blind and delusional. Vegeta's weeping eyes had already confirmed he was out of ideas. But Frieza was just starting to have fun. Before he granted death, he wanted to break the lone prince, spirit and soul. You keep going on about being a Super Saiyan, but it's just a myth, Vegeta. I've never seen one. Have you? You're such a chump. Vegeta knew in his heart, even as he pondered the situation.
Why? Why? Why?
A small droplet of sadness and regret trickled down his cheek.
My entire life been leading to this confrontation against Frieza, so how can I fail myself like this?
He crashed to his knees, looking at himself in palms with watery haze.
Is this all some cruel joke? The stories of the legendary Super Saiyan, passed on to me by my father, all just teasing me, mocking me with a power I can never have.
In a distant realm, King Kai watched the events unfolding. For Vegeta. He spoke mostly for the benefit of the deceased fighters on Earth, still on his planet. Even now, the prince is about to be brought to tears by the icy tyrant. His heart of stone beginning to finally melt, but I fear it's much too late. All things come back around in time, and Vegeta's treachery is about to be paid back upon him tenfold. Oh, poor Vegeta. Frieza's voice dripped with sarcasm. Have you finally realized the hopelessness of your situation? Finally recognized your imminent death? The prince just knelt there as resolve drained from his eye, each hot tear bringing him one closer second to the inevitable. You're just like your father, proud, arrogant, destined to be forgotten. The name Saiyan will never be remembered. Frieza stepped forward, crusting and rocking with his three-pronged foot. The memory of your race will be obliterated as easily as I will snuff out your life! A wave of heat suddenly flooded Vegeta's ears and forehead, jolting him back in reality. His gloved hands braced against the bluegrass and Namek. Each grabbed a handful of the soft earth and clenched tightly.
No, Frieza! You're wrong!
Saiyan wrath suddenly began to smolder inside him, pure and directed. He lifted his head, his eyes piercing through the heartless murderer in front of him. Vegeta felt himself slipping deeper into rage, and he welcomed it. Fists shaking with tension, teeth clenched, and all his muscles rippling with pure, unadulterated anger. He welcomed the power of death into him. Oh, Vegeta, must you spend the last few moments of your worthless existence blubbering on about that nonsensical fairy tale? Here, all these years you were my favorite. You're so pathetic. Frieza stood several meters away, his arms crossed lazily across his chest. He always enjoyed sucking the last bit of hope out of someone before he ended them. To him, it had become a bit of a craft, a game. How far could he make them fall? I'll tell you what. Swear your loyalty to me right now. Beg for my mercy. I am not without a heart, Vegeta. He chuckled inwardly. Perhaps I will give you a swift and painless thump. The terrifying thunder shook the ground. Thump. As a storm of blinding lightning and howling wind erupted around Vegeta. His eyes had vanished, pupils now white and deadly. His energy rushed out, the air around him suddenly warm and thick. At his feet, the increased intensity of his aura crushed the rocks into fragments of nothingness. His head suddenly jerked upward and then back down. All this time, his blank eyes fixed on Frieza. Oh my, what's this? Got a little bit of your fight back, have you, Vegeta? Vegeta's head jerked again. This time, a flash of golden yellow light rippled through his hair. It vanished as his head dripped again. The sudden flash seemed to encapsulate that moment, freezing in time. Nearby, the faces of Piccolo, Krillin, and Gohan were captured in a transfixed state of fear and awe. What's happening to Vegeta? The young and scared Gohan asked no one in particular. Vegeta's head jerked back again, this time for a second longer. The golden light in his body trying its hardest to violate a gate.
Sir!
Vegeta growled in fury. Fool! Nothing can save you from me! Cried Frieza as he lunged, his right fist rushing towards Vegeta.
I am a Super Saiyan!
Vegeta screamed with all of his might as the wrath within him exploded outward in a forest of pure rage. Golden light consumed and bled from him as it ripped Frieza from his trajectory and hurled the icy tyrant away. A stunned Frieza attempted to regain his balance in midair as he shielded his eyes from the blinding energy emanating from Vegeta. The sides of his hair now stood sharply erect, no longer black but a shimmering gold. His eyes burned with the rays of a blue fire. His muscles had somehow bulged as well, and he appeared at least an inch taller. What's this? Science transformed into apes! Frieza was stunned. This is completely different than anything I've ever seen before! Ton, what does this mean? The Saiyan Prince, now fully aware of himself, of what he had finally become, spoke the first words that Frieza had ever truly feared.
I am no longer Vegeta. He smirked. I am the legend. Your worst nightmare now made a reality.
He chuckled, making sure to look Frieza dead in the eyes.
Super Saiyan indeed. I am death brought to life.
Chapter 2. The Legend Awakes. Piccolo stood on a cliffside a few hundred feet from the battle. To his left, still wearing blue and white Saiyan armor, was the young Saiyan Gohan. Mr. Piccolo, do you know what happened to Vegeta? He looks different.
I'm not so sure, Gohan.
The Namekian grunted.
Whatever this Super Saiyan thing he keeps talking about is, I think he might have actually done it. Just feel that energy. It's amazing.
Piccolo was no means pleased with Vegeta obtaining such an unreal power boost. However, he had done it. Yet, as long as the prince remained focused on Frieza, he was on their ally. Frieza floated, his face fixed on Vegeta. Frost Demon snarled frustration. What have you done to yourself? He yelled. Is this a new game, Vegeta? Ignoring the question, Vegeta vanished, reappearing instantly above the tyrant. With a mighty stroke from his elbow, the prince sent Frieza crashing violently into the rocks below. A wicked smirk had been growing on the prince's face, the basis of his Saiyan instincts bubbling madly to the surface.
You're dead, Frieza!
The Super Saiyan inwardly boasted.
What could have possibly caused this?
Piccolo thought.
Even after Vegeta made himself so much stronger, by having dead to heal him, he was still useless. He wasn't even able to put up a tiny scratch of Frieza's final form. Now, as if the roles had been completely reversed. That attack nail was just the single most impressive display I've ever observed!
Gohan and Krillin were both too stunned to respond, the latter's teeth chattering from his overwhelming state. Frieza, covered in rubble, fiercely exploded his aura with purple energy. As the blast engulfed the rock and debris around him, vaporizing and clearing the dust, he glared angrily up at Vegeta. Somehow, he hadn't seen that last attack coming. But how? I am not slower than a monkey!
Oh, Frieza, are you really so fragile to be damaged in an attack like that?
Vegeta cheered.
You should consider yourself lucky. You have the privilege of being the first person I destroyed with my Super Saiyan strength!
What? Cried Frieza. You're no Super Saiyan!
Oh, but truly, my lord, I am!
Vegeta grinned with satisfied confidence, inviting the entire planet to bask in his Super Saiyan glory.
Wait till we have a little fight to celebrate, said the proud prince. It'll be a perfect time to showcase my new strength. That is, if you're feeling up to it.
He gets him one lucky blow, and all of a sudden he thinks he's already won the game. Stupid, arrogant monkey! Frieza, ever composed in well manner, responsibly casually to the prince's boast. Oh, Vegeta, I suppose I'll play you a little game and indulge you one final time. But now, unfortunately for you, you'll have to back up your delusional, pathetic taunts. Super Saiyan. Vegeta uncrossed his arms from his chest as he stared at Frieza across the landscape. This? He was going to enjoy.
Are you ready now?
He suddenly questioned.
to witness a power not seen for thousands of years.
Instantly, Frieza disappeared and came charging from behind Vegeta with a spinning kick.
Predictable.
Frieza thought, just as a powerful blow reached his target, Vegeta turned, easily catching the kick with his left hand and responding with a powerful punch to Frieza's gut. Ugh! Ugh! Moaned Frieza as he bowled over in shock. He never before experienced the pain of this magnitude. Finding resolve to strike back, Frieza straightened his form, his left hand still gripping the stomach from pain. The Saiyan was nowhere in sight. The Frost Demon frantically, fatally scanning in every direction.
Well now, is that your best, Frieza?
With his newfound power, which he only barely begun to tap into, the Prince far exceeded Frieza in both strength and speed.
This is too much fun!
You will pay for your insolence! Help! Frieza launched a death beam after Vegeta for point-blank brains. After passing clearly through his body, the image of Vegeta turned to static and faded. What? Impossible! How could he dodge at this range? The Ice Titan clenched his teeth in anger, his arm and finger still extended from firing the attack. He lost sight of his opponent once again, infuriating him further. Behind him, looking smug, hovered the Saiyan Prince.
Oh, Frieza, you're much too slow,
laughed Vegeta.
Here, I know you're confused, so let me make it easier on you. My back's turned. How's that?
Frieza screamed with wrath, quickly charging and firing a continuous flurry of death beams, each one precisely aimed, but still crashed fatally into the landscape as the Saiyans stand much dust caught up by the destruction to see anything. Frieza silently scanned through the haze and rubble, looking, hoping to see the damaged body of his foe. Where are you hiding, Mucky? You can't run forever! The debris soon cleared, revealing a devastating landscape. Every island large enough to stand on had been either crushed to rubble or completely obliterated. No sign of Vegeta remained. Deceived by a misplaced confidence in his superiority, the tyrant began laughing. Well, I guess you're not that much of a Super Saiyan after all. A deep, scowling voice interrupted from above.
Huh? Frieza!
Vegeta yelled, as he teleported directly in front of the Frost Demon's face. Frieza's instincts kicked in late, nearly an entire second after the Super Saiyan appeared, as he jumped backwards to the defensive stance. His reaction time was so much slower than it seemed, as if Vegeta could have yawned while waiting on him to respond. The Prince smiled with immense satisfaction at this and crossed his arms, his golden aura rippling through the air around him. It can't be! Started Frieza as he fell backwards. Wow, the author actually could do it right. See, Funimation? It's can't, not cunt. Okay, a lot of you guys are new here. See, it was hilarious back in the old days. Back when Funimation used to not be a good dub company. And Frieza sounded like my old grandma with a sore throat. One of the dialogues when Frieza was facing off against Vegeta, the actress actually said, and I'm quoting here, "It couldn't, C-U-N-T-B." Seriously, she said that. Listen to the old dub, it's hilarious. Back when Funimation used to not be good. Back when DVDs with just dubbed only tracks were a thing. God, I'm glad we moved on from that. This is impossible! Why can't I hit you? Just tell me! The Frost Demon began backing away slowly, his light purple aura completely overshadowed by the crackling golden waves surrounding the Super Saiyan.
Oh, Frieza, I already did. You were experiencing so much fear that your pathetic brain was overwhelmed. Denial is a perfectly natural reaction for weak-minded fools such as yourself.
Vegeta couldn't help but grin with exhilaration. Frieza's frantic questions were all too perfect. For so long, the Prince had waited for this day. His day. Now he intended to savor every moment of Frieza's demise. The tyrant desired so much worse humiliation than death, and he was all too anxious to oblige.
All done! No more witty retorts? Too bad.
I am not scared of you! Frieza tried to embolden himself by reclaiming his usual calm and confidence. But despite these efforts, he was coming across just as desperate as he felt inside.
I think you just don't know when to quit, Frieza. You're finished.
Frieza clenched his fist in anger, his aura crackling angrily around him. You're the one who's through! Not me! Do you hear me? You!
Frieza. You should see the look on your face right now.
Vegeta landed on a nearby cliff top.
I'm afraid you're outclassed in every way!
The insults flowed effortlessly from Vegeta. After all, he had imagined what to say in this scenario for years. It was the day he had dreamed of since being a small boy aboard Frieza's ship. The day when he would be free. When he would finally claim the title of strongest in the universe as his own. We'll just see about that! Super Saiyan! Frieza tries violently at the prince, unleashing a relentlessly fury of punches and kicks. The barrage was unrelenting, but at every swipe and swing, Frieza was unable to lay so much as a finger on Vegeta. As he dodged and weaved behind the attacks, Vegeta's succinct laughter caused those listening on to tremble in both fear and excitement. Die, you stupid monkey! Frieza was getting more and more desperate. Individually, his attacks were all powerful enough to shatter moons. But none of them found their target. Vegeta, you coward! You can't dodge me forever! He cried.
Zoom!
Came the fist of a Saiyan as it collided with Frieza's face, launching him across the horizon and out of sight. Casually, Vegeta vanished, sapping himself toward the crater recently formed by the plummeted body of Frieza, seared in pain.
At last,
he thought.
The power's all mine. Frieza.
Part 3. Domination. How did he get this incredible power? Shouted the Ice Demon as he picked himself up. Vegeta had sent him flying across the landscape with one simple punch, causing him to crash into the Namekian landscape with a boom. Shh! Vegeta suddenly appeared behind him, mocking Frieza's rhetorical question, hoping to anger him further.
I do a lot of push-ups, sit-ups, and I drink Palodio juice.
You know, I tried to forget the stupid mistakes of Funimation's dubbing past. Stop bringing this up. Oh, what do you mean? You don't want to hear...
I can do this! I can win! I can... Ow!
The Super Saiyan Prince was experiencing the thrill of his life. Somehow, against all odds, he had done it. He knew it instantly. He felt himself a deep well of seamlessly endless energy, and it only grew with his rage. The thrill of it all was overwhelming. Best he knew, he had only begun to tap into the massive reservoir of energy provided by his transformation.
The bringer of death.
Roll credits. The prince literally dubbed himself,
For truly, I shall be his end.
Vegeta vanished again with a shriek, teleporting wildly around Frieza, laughing and boasting.
I must admit, this was unexpected, but that doesn't mean I won't enjoy it.
No! Frieza cried out in frustration. I am the Lord of the Universe. How can his power rival mine? By trying this out, I helped it develop and unleash his new power. I should destroy this scout the moment I destroyed that restless stupid monkeys.
Ha!
Vegeta chuckled.
You're such a weakling. Let's face it, you are no match for a Super Saiyan. I am far stronger.
Frieza began to tremble with fear and anger. He stared angrily at Vegeta, each of the Saiyan's taunts pushing on his last nerve. Yet they continued to roll on effortlessly from the lips of the prince.
Welcome to the end of your life, Frieza, and I promise it's going to hurt.
Frieza couldn't stand being treated like this. He threw back his hands, each one creating a spear of dark red flames, crackling with yellow electricity. You should really learn to control your tongue! Frieza began hurling flame bolts at Vegeta, firing thousands in a matter of seconds. Each one collided angrily with their target, black smoke completely surrounding the ground where the Saiyan stood. Frieza only stood when he could no longer see where to aim, as he himself was also covered in smog. Panting, he could only wait to see the damage. Take that, Super Saiyan! A faint laughter could be heard. growing in abrasiveness and volume by the second.
Well, Frieza, that almost tickled.
At the sight of his foe undamaged, the Frost Demon suddenly grinned and gritted his teeth. The ruler of the known galaxy, the tyrant whose name was feared across the entire universe, was speechless. His fingernails dug into the skin of his palms, releasing a flow of purple blood down his fingertips, which then drifted to the ground. No matter what he tried, his opponents not only emerged unscathed, but continued to mock him. He glared angrily at the Super Saiyan, desperately wanting to rip his tongue out, silencing the arrogant and boastful prince.
Is this what you want?
Vegeta taunted, pointing to himself.
I don't think you're scared. I don't think so. You're scared, aren't you? Go ahead, run away. Maybe I'll let you live. Will I taste you?
Cried Frieza. I hate you! The proud Saiyan prince wasn't even in a defensive stance. With his words, he had mocked him. Even his body language, he made the fight into a joke. With his strength, he had knocked the proud Frost Lord around as if he were an ordinary, unskilled soldier. Never before had the self-proclaimed ruler of the universe found himself in such a situation, his frustration boiling over in displays of reckless emotion. But in truth, that was nothing to compare to what Vegeta was experiencing. The repressed wrath, the munificence of a small boy barely containing his hatred for the Lord he served, was just bottled up for years and years. Masked under the guise of an obedient service, was finally spouting forth. Such rage, for which most of his life had been contained, had been fueled into the most powerful warrior alive, and her resultant power was legendary. Frieza couldn't stand it anymore. The Lord desperately thinking of ways to silence the traitor Vegeta. For all you've done to me, I'll pay you back 10 times! No! 1,000 times! Vegeta shot up and levitated 100 feet above the ground, smirking down at Frieza as if he didn't have a care in the world. His golden yellow aura shimmered around him, pulsating constantly with his Super Saiyan energy. Pure hatred, which he had fed since his childhood, was exploding all around him. This was the moment of his life. Frieza returned his glare, revealing how successful Vegeta's provocation had been and twisted his rage. Now, learn what happens when you mess with the most powerful being in the universe! Frieza tensed. He extended his right arm and firing an enormous wave of purple energy. The blast zoomed towards Vegeta, swelling in diameter the closer it got to him. The ever-confident Super Saiyan only smiled. No fear, not even respect, was hinted in his expressing only wrath. Humph! Vegeta grunted. In the last instant before the impact, Vegeta leaned to the beam of his right shoulder and brushed it aside with a flick of his right arm, sending it toward the upper atmosphere and harmlessly into space. What? Screamed a trembling Frieza.
Do you see now the power of a Super Saiyan?
Part 4. Trump Card. Nearby, Goku floated in the only remaining rejuvenation chamber aboard Frieza's ship. The world liquid he was in felt like water, but it gave him a strange tingling sensation from head to toe. At first, the injuries had stung, and he couldn't have moved if he wanted. Now, in the light of the relaxing dreamlike state provided by the healing tank, he didn't even feel like he was trying to move. Fortunately, the relaxation provided by the chamber only helped to further his focus on the ongoing battle. But though his keen senses were keeping him aware of the battle just outside, the blow-by-blow details eluded him. Wow! Vegeta! His power's mind-boggling! It's a good thing, I guess, he thought. I mean, if he hadn't achieved his new strength, there's a good chance Gohan and the others would be dead by now. The Saiyan from Earth had been wondering for quite a while how much longer his rejuvenation would take. Beep! The timer of the healing tank sounded, as if his thoughts alone had triggered the end of the process. To Goku, it signaled that he could finally join the battle, as he was eager to do. I'm healed! Goku said excitedly, as he placed his right hand on the glass of the tank, showering it with a small release of energy. In the brilliant explosion of light, Goku shot right through the hull of the ship, landing softly on the exterior of the vessel. A clean breeze of Namek blew gently against his wet skin, cooling him off more than drying him. He closed his eyes, breathing in his surroundings. The air was salty and warm, but had a certain life to it that was noticeably absent whenever Goku had been in technological or industrial cities. Wow, I feel incredible. I didn't think I could get much stronger than I was, but I guess I don't know my own limits. Still, I don't know if I have what it takes to go against Frieza or Vegeta. Both of them have gained incredible power. For Goku, the moment was surreal, lasting perhaps longer than he would have allowed. Alright, guys. I don't know if I could beat any of Help or not, but I'm on my way! Back at the battlefield, Krillin gulped, uncomprehending of how outclassed he was. Holy cow, guys. That attack. It looked like Frieza was giving it his all. But Vegeta just flicked it aside. It's scary, strong, how powerful he's gotten.
It's incredible.
Piccolo aggressively admitted.
Who could have guessed that after all that trouble we went through fighting Frieza's other forms, Vegeta would somehow achieve this immensible power and strength?
The Namekian, who knew enough to have a melting trust of Miss Vegeta at all times, was quite pissed. He is on our side, right? Gohan asked, afraid to know the answer. Piccolo was thinking the exact same thing, hoping that Vegeta would be satisfied if he managed to defeat Frieza. It was inconceivable that the Saiyan Prince might be in a good enough mood after defeating the Frost Demon and simply part ways with them. But was it really likely? Piccolo knew better to assume something like that. Frieza stood, right arm extended, for Vegeta had dealt him his latest humiliation. His strongest energy wave had been flicked aside like it was nothing. Vegeta had smirked at the attack, laughing loudly at how pathetic it was. Smoke was still rising from the Frost Demon's scorched fingertips. He panted briefly to recover his energy. He knew the prince, hovering above him, was probably imagining some creatively gruesome way of finishing him off. As much as that angered him, the Frost Demon knew he had to think quickly if he were to have any chance of victory. But how? Murmured Vegeta. Frieza, I've tried everything. Vegeta had become so powerful that he, in all his vast knowledge of how to kill, was running out of ideas. Do I not even have one advantage over this so-called Super Saiyan? I've got to think of something. The white-skinned Frost Demon suddenly began to recollect. All those years ago, back to when he wiped out the Saiyan race, his attack from space, just from beyond the edge of the planet's atmosphere, had been quite a memorable experience, perhaps even his favorite memory destroying a planet. Then came to him. The purple lips of a demon curled into its typical smirk. Well, Vegeta, I must say you do impress me. Frieza levitated, casually as possible, up towards the Super Saiyan. It seems there's a bit more truth to these stories than I ever thought possible. Vegeta was smiling as well, his hands casually resting on his sides.
Well, Frieza, what are you playing at now? Scheming as always? Or maybe you finally do realize the hopelessness of your situation.
Stupid monkey, he's buying it, Frieza thought. It was times like this he was particularly proud of his cunning with words. He could manipulate any situation to his advantage.
So, you're finally ready to admit the truth, Frieza. Here I was hoping I would get the pleasure of torturing you.
Vegeta, for some reason, wanted to wait and see what Frieza was up to. To a part, he felt ready to end it. He was getting a bit carried away in the ecstasy of his new power.
You're willing to acknowledge my superiority.
Vegeta continued laughing.
You're no fun. Well, at least you still have a bow to me. I suppose I can have some fun by forcing you to kneel. And make sure you do that thing where you bend on your elbow and the right arm out in front like I used to.
Unable to completely contain his cunning, Frieza smirked at his prince, desperately trying to keep up his facade. Everything was going to plan. If only he could keep from reaching to Vegeta's boast for a few more moments, he would have all the power he needed.
Too bad I can't stand the sight of your ugly face anymore.
Vegeta frowned, his fingers tingling with excitement.
So now, for the coup de grace, I thought of a perfect way to annihilate both you and your symbolic and ironic. This is your end, Frieza. Are you ready to stare into the eyes of the death itself?
Oh, Vegeta, you never learn. Unknown to the prince, Frieza had been secretly charging an orb of black and pink energy behind his back. Fool! It is not always the strongest that wins the fight! He lifted his hand high, and instantly the ball of energy quadrupled in size, continuing to grow by the millisecond. Now, die, planet, die! He hurled his planet destroyer right down, smiling at the brilliance of his plan. What? Vegeta cried in shock. I can't stop that! The supernova ripped through the air, destroying even the tiniest bacteria in its path as it drove down toward Namek. The orange spear scraped to the surface of the planet, shooting dirt outwards at all sides as it cut its way to the prow. 20 times. Kamehameha came a voice from below as a beam of powerful blue energy collided with the death ball. Goku's attack pushed the spear out of its trajectory into a nearby cliffside where it detonated. The explosion blinded everyone, creating a dome of light on that planet's surface as it could be seen from the other side of the galaxy. When it was finally subdued, the planet was still intact. Miraculously. Stunned, Vegeta looked down and saw him there, healed at last. Kakarot! Part 5. The power-up to the limit. Frieza's death ball could only graze the side of the planet, but the explosion left a crater several miles in diameter. The black mushroom cloud from the blast covered the sky as far as the eye could see. 2 dynamic suns were blotted out, and the third sun currently on the far side of the planet. Everything became suddenly dark. The only light remaining was a golden hue, rippling through the air as lightning continued to flash. Thunder joined electricity in shaking the planet, obeying Vegeta's every command. "Daddy!" shouted Gohan. "I'm so glad to see you!" Goku, relaxed from the fury of his 20 times Kaioken, catching his breath. Kaio what? His eyes were anything but friendly, as the dark brow warded off Gohan's approach. If he hadn't stopped that blast, the entire planet would be gone now. Goku was furious. The lives of Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo, and even Vegeta were almost taken instantly, before he had even a chance to fight. "Hey, you! Frieza! Whatever grudge you got against Vegeta, you leave this planet out of this!" Vegeta was momentarily grateful for Kakarot's intervention, coupled with the thought that they both wanted Frieza dead. However, his pride having ascended to great new levels, he couldn't resist the chance to meet Kakarot.
Nobody asked for your assistance, clown! I can handle Frieza quite well by myself.
Typical, Goku thought. I do well to remind Vegeta we're on the same side now. He turned his back towards the Super Saiyan. "Sure you won't flip me for it, Vegeta? I was really looking forward to finding this guy."
As if, Kakarot!
Vegeta turned his view back upon Frieza, who was physically shaken by the failure of his trump card.
Just consider yourself lucky that you get to witness our entire race being avenged by none other than the Prince himself, now a Super Saiyan.
Frieza was racking his brain for ideas. His one chance to defeat Vegeta, destroying the planet and thus eliminating the breathable atmosphere, had failed. He, of course, was a frost demon. His frights could survive anywhere, so he could have been fine. After all, surviving the explosion of a planet was something he had done on many occasions. Better still, Vegeta was well aware of Frieza's ability to survive the planet's end, and simply threw through space until a ship came for him. In a way, it would have been the perfect victory. He would have defeated the Super Saiyan of legend, using not only his might, but also his head. No one would ever dare challenge his supremacy again. "Not even my prick of a brother, Cooler!"
Well then,
Vegeta began, the confidence choice as irritating to Frieza as ever.
If you're quite through with all the interruptions, I think it's about time I finish this!
His mind was racing. Frieza was crafty, this he knew. Luck had been his side, in the form of Kakarot, but he had almost lost due to his own overconfidence.
How could I have let Frieza outsmart me like that? I am a Super Saiyan! The most ruthless warrior alive! Worst of all, I had to rely on Kakarot to save me from my stupidity!
His rage again started building.
You won't have a chance to pull any more tricks, Frieza. I'm going to finish your stuff off, once and for all!
Frieza was desperate, but he had one last hope. Announcing loudly, as if to himself, he laid debate. "If only I had time to power out to my very maximum! But how? Vegeta has always been a coward, a gutless primate. He wouldn't dare fight me at full strength!" Frieza griped at his craftiness. He was hoping it would work. He knew Saiyan pride. He knew they would never pass up a challenge. This was it. "Go on, Vegeta! Finish me now while you still have the chance! You know your Super Saiyan strength is nothing compared to my true power!"
Oh no, Piccolo yelled. He has to finish it now while he still has a chance! If he doesn't, Frieza may very well become stronger than a Super Saiyan!
Oh, Gohan exclaimed, reaching his hands to the pants leg of his making friend. "Maybe we should get out of here, Mr. Piccolo." "No, Gohan. It's up to us. This is Vegeta's choice." Goku appeared suddenly behind Piccolo. He spoke with strange assurance. "If it were me, I would want to fight him at his very strongest too." Somehow, it just feels right. After all, isn't it really fair to beat someone when they are at their maximum? Goku put his hand on Gohan's shoulder, his ever-inspiring smile reassuring the boy. Son, I'm proud of how you fought today. You too, Krillin. Piccolo. You guys did an amazing job. Just think about it. You survived this entire time, accomplished our mission with the Dragon Balls, and then took on the strongest being in the universe. After all we've been through, we aren't going to lose now. Let's just have a little faith in Vegeta.
I don't know, Goku. I have a lot of difficulty putting any trust in Vegeta,
said Piccolo.
He only joined us because it was his only choice. Who's to say he won't kill all of us next if he manages to beat Frieza?
Don't worry, guys. I'm sure it'll turn out fine. Vegeta had been considering his options. He knew Frieza was baiting him. His rage was hot enough to engulf Frieza in an instant, but he also wanted to fight him at his best. He couldn't decide if it was curiosity, pride, anger, provocation, or some combination of all of them. Perhaps it was a base Saiyan instinct, amplified by his transformation, but he no longer cared.
The decision was made. Fight then, Frieza. I will allow you 2 minutes. And which choice you may do as you choose. When that time expires, I will kill you!
Frieza smirked. His purple lips couldn't contain his excitement. Chapter 6. Clash of the Titans. Nightwing, Roy... Ow! Sorry, people. I don't have much snark in this fic. I like it too much. Instantly, Frieza clenched his fists, and purple energy shot out from his body. He grit his teeth together and began to charge up, calling deep inside himself, in every dark corner, to awaken the depths of his power. He had only found it necessary to call upon this much of his strength before. Somebody's been watching Revival of F. Yes, I know about it. And yes, I'm screaming like a schoolgirl. Prior to receiving his inheritance of the Empire, he had been required to prove his strength. Reminiscent, Frieza laughed at how much better he had done to Cooler, his older brother, in the test against the mighty King Cold. Now, he needed every ounce of that power if he was going to survive. Slowly, it was coming back to him, reawakening inside his bulging body.
I really hope you're right about this, Goku,
Piccolo said. Grunted the tyrant as the veins in his forehead swelled. Frieza's slender white purple form began to thicken. The muscles in his thighs doubled in size, followed by his calves, swelling up as large as volleyballs. He screamed as he continued charging. Next, his shoulders began to grow out and upwards, making the round purple protrusion stand up like a bubbly armor. His neck thickened also, as his once thin chest swelled with power and pride. Shudder in my full power, Vegeta! Lastly, his biceps, triceps, and forearm all popped out, making his misleading, intimidating final form suddenly a lot more physically impressive. There stood the Frost Tyrant, his aura now an appropriate icy blue rather than purple. His face was colder and more cruel than ever. Frieza let out a deep breath, dropping to the ground and relaxing his form into a unique fighting stance, his right leg casually hiding behind his left. Wow, Goku thought. He's finally showing what he's really capable of. Unbelievable. I never imagined he was holding back so much strength. Waiting patiently above was Vegeta. He wore an expression of vague amusement, as if announced to his reassurance.
No matter how strong Frieza makes himself, I am a Super Saiyan! I cannot and will not be defeated! Not by him, not by anyone!
He stiffened his resolve, preparing to engage in battle. Well then, Vegeta, what do you think? Frieza casually bridled as he held out his hands to his side, palms facing up. Vegeta smiled briefly, then gritted his teeth.
I think your 2 minutes are expired! Ah!
The prince unleashed his fury in a quick dash towards Frieza. As he struck with his right fist, the Frost Lord reached up and caught it with his hand. Vegeta swung with his left, which was also caught Frieza's palm. The two began struggling to push through each other's defenses. Fingers of violent opposing hands interlocked as lightning wildly struck the earth between them. The force they were simultaneously exerting split the ground beneath their feet in a fissure and caused the water nearby to boil. In the momentary war of brute strength, neither could seem to gain the other hand.
They're completely equal!
Gasped Piccolo. Goku looked over at Namek, smiling, for now at least. After a few minutes of struggle, it seemed a stalemate. Frieza, however, gained a slight advance by using his tail to break the deadlock, and knocked Vegeta backwards. Dashing after him, Frieza swung an angry chop at his chest, but the prince vanished just before it struck, appearing behind Frieza with a sky uppercut. His attack also missed, the force of the blow smashing an unfortunate mountains in his path to tiny bits. The Ice Demon had dodged just in time, teleporting about 30 feet in front of the prince. Face to face again, the two dashed forwards. Each warrior, free from their restraints, began to clobber each other. As the speed of their blows continued increasing, they were soon too quick for even Goku to follow. The shock waves of each blocked the attack, and were powerful enough to block the planet out of orbit. The planet itself seemed frightfully aware of the damage each was causing. Thump! 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 Came the indistinguishable sound and vortex of rolling thunder and superpowered punches. Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo shielded their eyes, unable to watch as the fight, as the collateral damage was simply too powerful. They're going to tear this whole planet apart! Krillin shouted. Well, they got him alive for all of this. It would have been hard blood if I was dead. The next moment, he was swept backwards by the shock. Ding! Krillin don't count! As his defenses gave out. He crashed helplessly into a large cliff side above the green water Namek, causing it to tumble in the sea. Piccolo! I want you to take Gohan and Krillin, find Bulma, and find my spaceship, and get out of here! Goku yelled, trying to be heard over the roars of the battle overhead. As for me, I have to make sure that Frieza won't come after us. Whatever happens, I won't let him escape. Now, go! The two warriors stared off a brief stare, Piccolo realizing the seriousness in his former enemy's eyes. The Namekian obediently grabbed Gohan and took off immediately. He obeyed as he understood. He was no coward, yet this was not a fight where his own strength was completely meaningless. The presence of anyone Goku cared about would now only serve as a distraction, and he knew neither Frieza or Vegeta would hesitate to attack for fear of their safety. They had to go.
Good luck, Goku!
Piccolo yelled as he flew off. Chapter 7. The Power of a Super Saiyan. Far from planet Namek, in the afterlife, King Kai of the North was anxiously watching the events unfolding. There, on his tiny planet, his dead pupils, Yamcha, Tien-Shin-Han, and Chiaotzu, listened eagerly for his updates on the battle. So much was resting on this one fight between Frieza and the Super Saiyan Prince. As much as they hated Vegeta, King Kai had explained that Frieza was a much worse villain than Vegeta had ever been. In fact, he was largely responsible for turning Vegeta into the heartless warrior he had become. They forgottedly had decided to root for the Saiyan, choosing, as it were, the lesser of the two evils. Still, King Kai had to admit, his chances looked good. For the best he could tell, even with Frieza fighting at his maximum power, Vegeta was holding his own. But it was much too soon for him to call, especially since he knew the cunning of Frieza. Thump! Vegeta had taken a hard kick to the face, launching him through the multiple mountains before he slowed himself and regained balance. Frieza was every bit as powerful as he had believed. How could he have ever thought that he could take on Frieza before becoming a true Super Saiyan? Until now, he had no clue what the Frost Demon was really capable of. He had to admit it was impressive. He smiled. It was as much of a thrill he could have hoped for. He knew his own resolve was unending. He, Vegeta, the first Super Saiyan in 1,000 years, would prove himself and everyone else why the legend would be feared.
Bringer of Death. Is that all, Frieza? Or are you just simply toying around?
Vegeta announced, as he smugly wiped a streak of blood from his bottom lip. You stupid, arrogant monkey! You will be smiling when I'm through with you! Frieza advanced alongside Vegeta, as their light sped movements and attacks began. This time, Vegeta was maintaining his cool too easily, and Frieza could sense that any edge he had previously possessed was now gone. Originally, with his 100% maximum, he estimated his own physical strength to have a slight advantage over the Super Saiyan. But as he continued to exert himself, his own power began to falter. He was tiring out. And to his frustration, Vegeta seemed to have hardly taken any damage.
What's wrong? Don't tell me the all-powerful Frieza is running out of steam. At this point, I'm completely confident I can finish you off anytime I want.
In truth, Vegeta wasn't quite aware of the full extent of his own powers yet. But he was starting to get back of his boasting.
Here it comes, Frieza!
What? You can't honestly believe I'm going to fall for that, Vegeta! Cried the distraught Icy Terror. Before the demon could speak another word, Vegeta hurled his Super Saiyan fist into Frieza's gut. Caught the demon as the blood flew out of his mouth. He couldn't breathe. The mighty Saiyan's fist was lodged firmly in his torso.
Oh, Frieza, don't you see? I'm not trying to trick you. The truth is far too much fun.
Vegeta yanked his hand out swiftly, and in one powerful stroke from both his fists, he hurled Frieza toward the planet. Smiling, he peered down through the debris. He was quite satisfied with himself.
Ha, Kakarot! Do you see the great and mighty Frieza now? He's even unable to pick himself up. Such a disgrace. If only our fathers were here to see this day. Ha 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 ha. Perhaps it is finally time for us to be granted vengeance.
Goku was the only one capable of even watching the fight, besides King Kai, and he had stayed to make sure neither Frieza or Vegeta would come after him or his friends. Vegeta, it's done! You've proven that he's no match for you. He's been humiliated, and to make it worse, he was beaten by a Super Saiyan. He's a broken man, not even able to stand up to a monkey. Goku paused briefly for a vent. Let's get out of here, Vegeta. There's no longer any reason to continue this fight. Goku chose his words as carefully as possible. He knew convincing Vegeta to show mercy, especially to Frieza, was an impossible task, but he had to try.
Really, Kakarot? Mercy? You sicken me. But you do make a point.
He turned again to the fallen tyrant.
Ha!
Yelled Vegeta as he united his Super Saiyan powers to the maximum.
This fight is over!
He placed his palms straight out before him. His fingers curled as his palms joined at the base. The small desert energy began to form in his center. Crackling of power, electricity danced through the air as it jumped through Vegeta's wrists, streaking out through his fingers. Wow, what power! Awed Goku. Vegeta, his attack almost fully charged, gleamed with excitement as he stared upon his trembling foe.
I am going to finish you off. Goodbye, Frieza!
Frieza had barely picked himself up to one knee, but he turned his head to face the legendary Golden Man poised above him. He had no words of defiance, nor did he have time to speak them. Struggling, he staggered to his feet, clutching at the pain in his stomach.
Feast your eyes on Super Vegeta's Galactic Gun!
From his hands, the cannon exploded, launching a burning beam of yellow energy directed straight at Frieza. The blast was unavoidably huge, racing brilliant in the fire blast. Frieza gathered all his remaining resolve as he tensed his body for impact. I will never be defeated! He braced for the attack, feet planted, both arms extended. With all his might, instantly, the blast stung and drove him deep into the ground, crushing rocket dirt beneath his burning feet. For a moment, he slowed his impact, but he felt his flesh beginning to melt, his knees suddenly weak. I can't control it! It's too powerful! He moaned in desperation. Above, Frieza could distinctly hear the laughing of Vegeta, howling with unquenchable delight. He had lost. Vegeta had won. Frieza felt his last ounce of resistance falter, and the blast took him. The Bringer of Death. And I think this is a good point to stop, because I think this is the way to highlight the awesomeness of this fic. You see, DBC's been around for quite a while, and you in the brownie community know how many times we've got the alternate universe versions of what if this happened, what if this happened, what if this happened, what if this happened, what if Nightmare Moon lost? Well, this is a common trait with a lot of fandoms, and DBC is no exception. I actually remember finding a website, it's gone long by now, that did this exact thing, where they would throw in so many alternate universes together. It gave you out theories, plans of, okay, what would happen if this happened? What would happen if this happened? What happened if Goku stayed here? What would happen if Vegeta arrived on planet Earth in Dragon Ball, etc., etc., etc. And it's really a great, fascinating read, and I wish I could remember the site. But let's move beyond that. This fic does that. It takes the idea of what if Vegeta went SSJ and decides to expand on it. And even though I only gave you 7 chapters, this thing has taken that idea and has gone on for 81 more chapters, and it's still ongoing. I took a small preview of what happens next, and a lot of cool stuff does happen. We've got Cooler and King Cold fighting off against Vegeta. We've got the Cell games, and now we're in the middle of the Underworld tournament. Yes, Trunks is born. Yes, we've got so many character development. It's really good. And the thing is, the story does do some good bits with character development, allowing Vegeta to grow into his own as a fighter. We also see Goku grow a little as he has to experience things that he has done. We're seeing a lot more of what the characters' emotions go through and how the characters handle themselves through these different types of situations. And it takes a chance to explore all of these things at their fullest. But I think what this fic does the best, in my opinion, DBZ battles. As anyone can tell you, any DBZ fan can tell you, especially when you're me, writing DBZ battles is not easy. Oh, sure, you might think that all you need to do is write, and then Goku charged up for a while and fired his attack. Goku threw this type of punch. No. Much like writing a good fight scene, there's an art to writing a good fight scene and a good DBZ fight style. Because you gotta write the quick blows, the small blows, the short blows, and write of how the characters disappear, vanish, reappear. Because, yeah, we know the old joke. It's just 20 minutes of powering up and screaming for about yada yada yada. However, if I may borrow something from another reviewer, old joke is old. Yeah. There are some more things to the DBZ fight than just the power-ups. That's why we call them fillers. If you watch Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z Kai, you can actually see all the different styles that the fights take over, how their strategies move, and how quick some of the punches are, or some of the other things that pop up in those fights in between the power-ups. Oh, I'm not going to say it's deep and evolving, but I will say that there is more to it than what people give it credit for. Some writers will think, oh, all I need to do is say that this guy has power up to its maximum. No. You need to describe how the different fights happen. You need to describe how the different actions and the characters react to those punches and kicks. You need to describe, otherwise, it's a bad DBZ fic and you don't know how, and showing how little you actually know of how to describe a fight. A good fight sequence needs to get you involved. It needs you to get pumped up. It needs to be fast, moving, and quick. And when they got a really good DBZ fight going, style fight, you got it. But write it badly and nobody cares. That's what this fic does really well. It manages to actually make it seem like I'm watching a fight from the actual series. Or, if you're me, playing a fight from the actual video games because you just happen to be addicted to DBZ games and you just realize just how many of them you've got. Overall, this fic was a blast and I'm glad to sit through at least 7 chapters of it. Will I come back one day? Maybe. I mean, this guy does finish doing my favorite Dragon Ball Z arc of all time. Here's a hint. It's Cell! And I am curious to see how some of the other plot points occur. But for right now, I suggest you guys give this fic a chance to read yourself because there are plenty of awesome things to come. Starring the Saiyajin Luigi, Prince Vegeta.
Good. Now that you've actually finished reading, say what else?
And Vegeta's cooler in this fic than Kakarot.
What else?
And Vegeta's the most adorable plushie ever.
Good. Now, you may continue reading the rest of your Pulsing fanfics, and I won't use the big bang attack on you.
Yes, Vegeta-sama. Well, people, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.